Hmm. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mental Health Day. Happy Mental Health Day, everybody. And I hope you are well. I hope, today meets you in a right place and in a right frame of mind. And yeah, I just really hope that everything is okay with you and everybody's doing okay. So, just before we go into the session today, would anybody please just give me a second while I share my screen? Bear with me while I share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And welcome. It's Mental Health Day, and we just got to do this program today to help a lot of people who are struggling with mental health. And also, the mental health organization, the theme for this year is mental health at workplace. So this is a good platform and a good opportunity to share some of the experiences that people are going through at their workplace and how they can better manage their health, their mental health, and and their life, basically. Yeah. So today, just before we welcome our guest, who is in the person of Pilar. Yeah, we just want to talk about Birdie Box, what we do and how we do it. So Birdie Box is an organization that is committed to redefining memory care through innovative technology. We envision a future where technology significantly improves the lives of individuals who are living with memory loss and to foster better relationships between patients and caregivers. What we do, we focus on developing accessible, efficient, and breakthrough memory care solutions that not only only affects the the individual who is living with the memory loss condition, but also empowers healthcare professionals, empowers their family and friends, empowers their caregivers to collaborate on the memory loss journey of an individual. And we merge technology, AI, and deep empathy for individuals who are living with memory loss conditions. And we have also discovered in our research that there is a relationship between mental health and memory loss. Yeah, we are going to be talking about that during the session today, but it's just very, very important to be aware that our memory care it's very important so that we don't lose our memory loss. And mental health also is part of the memory care journey. Our mobile application is mainly for people who are experiencing memory loss, who are at the beginning of their stage. So from basic forgetfulness to the point where they get diagnosed and then onwards. And as their memory progresses, as their condition progresses, this app also supports them. And so some features in our mobile application includes memory bank. We have AI powered integration, which recalls the memory. We also have an opportunity to collaborate with family, friends, with caregivers. We also have task scheduler and reminders, a virtual community, and a caregiver dashboard on our mobile application. And we are going to be launching the mobile application very soon. Some other services that we offer are mental health training, health and well-being training, understanding carers in full-time employment training. So this is an opportunity where we speak to caregivers who are in the workplace, and today's talk is also around that. And also, please do connect with us on Facebook, do connect with us through our website, or email us, or through our social media platform. And without much ado, I would like to welcome our speaker for the day, who is in the person of Pilar Sifas Obiol. She is a clarity life coach, and I will just yield the floor for her to introduce herself. Hi, Pilar. Welcome.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for inviting me to talk today. Honestly, it's an honor. Sorry for the headphones. I look like an alien, but there's some works upstairs, so I will have to run this with the headphones on, but it should be fine. You shouldn't be hearing any drilling. And with not much further ado, let me share my screen. I hope you guys can see it.
Yes, we can.
Yes? Okay, great. So thank you again for inviting me, and thank you everyone who is joining this. If you have any questions, just a little bit of housekeeping, you can use the chat and we can keep on reading them, or by the end of the session, if we have time, we can answer them. And in case that we don't have time, we're happy to follow up on a one-to-one basis in case you have any questions. I will also share my details like Rebecca did by the end of the session. So let me go for it, if my computer allows me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the person who is going to be talking to you for the next 45 minutes. So you know who I am. I am, as Rebecca said, I'm Pilar, and I am from Barcelona, Spain, but I've been in London for a very long time. I studied 2 degrees when I was in Barcelona, one in translation and interpreting, and another one in PR and advertising. And I briefly published a book when I was on my early mid-20s. It's a Spanish novel, and it got published for a while, so I'm very proud of that bit. And on 2011, I decided that I was going to pursue my dream, and I moved to London, and I'm still here. I came with nothing, no job, no friends, no family, no place to stay, and I made it. And my work experience is basically hospitality in the beginning. When I was in Barcelona, I used to work for these big Royal Caribbean cruises, celebrity cruises, carnival cruises, doing the check-in services. And when I moved to London, I started working in hotels like Hyatt and Melia. But 9 years later, 9 years ago, sorry, I started working for Toyota. I did a massive jump into the corporate world, and I spent 8 years there until this question, what now, started really kicking me and thinking there has to be more to it, and there is something I have to do. So that's how I started my coaching adventure. I graduated from my diploma in coaching skills in 2021. And since then, I have over 100 hours of real life coaching and workshops. I am accredited by the Association for Coaching and the Complementary Medical Association, and I'm a member of the London Chamber of Commerce, where I met Rebecca. I also help different professionals like teachers, entrepreneurs, even students, construction workers. And I worked briefly last year for a couple of workshops for the London Borough of Hounslow. You can see a picture here in the middle of the last session I did with them. My specialty, basically my expertise, is in workplace life coaching. And it's basically helping people who feel stuck in any situation at work. It can be imposter syndrome, procrastination, self-perception, assertiveness, etc. And I help them get that promotion they want, or change industries, change companies, being liked by colleagues, etc. So I'm always the one who helps you figure out what's going on and to give you the tools for you to be able to move in your life and be the person you want to be. But anyway, enough of myself. I've been talking for, I don't know, like 3 minutes already about myself. I would like to understand briefly, if you can write down in the chat, where you're connecting from and why you're here. If you have a second and you can write it down, otherwise we can carry on. I don't know if anyone is typing. Connecting from London, yeah. I'm also in London, I'm in Brixton. Wow, from Lagos. From London. Thank you, Sophie. Okay, well, thank you very much. Now I know a little bit where we are geographically, so I can understand a little bit where everyone is. Focus and stress on business. Yeah, stress is, well, we will see that. It's a big reason for absence at work. Okay, Lagos, good. So we have 2 people connecting from Lagos and 3 from London. Okay. And let's carry on in that case. So, as I always say on my workshops, today I'm gonna give you seeds. We're gonna be planting some seeds, and it's up to you to either just look at them for the hour and then don't do anything about them and let them dry, or to actually put them in the soil, nurture them, and get fruits out of them. That's completely up to you, but those are the 4 main seeds that I'm gonna give you today. Understanding what mental health is, learning how to prevent it, know how to help others with mental health, and start applying tips on how to look after your own mental health. And this is our agenda, so you can see that we are quite busy today. So I'm going to start cracking. And let's start, of course, with the definition of mental health. I'm using the one used by Mental Health Foundation. Basically, our mental health is how we're feeling inside or how we are emotionally. It affects deeply our life, including our ability to do things we need to do and want to do. And that includes work, study, getting along with others, and looking after ourselves. It's a bit like internal weather, kind of. There are bright days, sunny days that make us feel very happy, very upbeat, and we think that we're gonna be able to do everything. But we also have gloomy, rainy days where we don't even feel to get out of home. Our mental health will change because of a lot of different circumstances, the things we're doing, and also the thing that anything that is beyond our control, like other people's behavior, our physical health, finances, or even the weather and world events. Just let's think, how was everyone 4 years ago when we were locked in our homes during the COVID-19 pandemic? And as you know, if you are in social media or if you connected early in this webinar, this is World Mental Health Day. And as Rebecca said, the World Federation of Mental Health has chosen mental health in the workplace as this year's theme. And I don't know how many times I said mental health. And before we dive in, I would like to leave very clear the difference between mental health and a concept that sometimes can be identified as a mental health issue, but it's actually not. And that's neurodiversity. That represents the different ways in which people do anything from thinking, moving, and behaving to visualize, communicate, and process information. It emphasizes that everyone's mind works differently. People have different interests, motivations, skills, and strengths. And let me clarify something before we move forward. Neurodivergence does not necessarily describe a disorder, deficit, or disability, but simply a different way of thinking, learning, and behaving. Some people can be neurotypical, which means that the brain processes the information in a relatively similar way. And people who process information differently are neurodivergent. Some forms of neurodivergence can be ADHD, autism, dyslexia, Tourette, and tic disorders, whereas mental health issues can be anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, and eating disorders, amongst others. It is important to note that neurodiversity does not refer to a mental health condition. Likewise, neurodivergent individuals do not necessarily have poor mental health. However, due to social expectations and a lack of support and understanding, neurodivergent people may be particularly susceptible to mental health problems, especially in environments where differences are not understood or even respected. Neurodivergent people can often feel as though they need to suppress natural behaviors, conform to social norms, and force themselves to behave typically, let's say. And this can be really exhausting and cause increased anxiety and even burnout. And I'm not going to bore you with too many stats, but I would like to show you the key stats for the UK to have a better picture. So mixed anxiety and depression is Britain's most common mental health disorder, with 7.8% of people meeting the criteria for diagnosis. According to the Burnout Report from Mental Health UK, 9 in 10 UK adults experienced high or extreme stress in 2023. Almost a quarter of UK adults feel unable to manage stress and pressure levels in their lives. And 1 in 5 workers in the UK needed to take time off work in the past year due to mental health caused by pressure, stress, or burnout, making mental health the 5th most common reason for sickness absence at work. And last but not least, in England and Wales, unfortunately, I don't have the whole UK figures because they hasn't been released. There was 5,656 suicides in 2023, 372 more than in 2022, with a male ratio, as you see, male rate of 17.1 per 100,000, and for women, 5.6 per 100,000. In countries around the world, women are more likely to be diagnosed with depression and to attempt suicide. So why is the male suicide rate still several times higher than female? I'm using the UK figures, but you can look anywhere worldwide. It's going to be the same case. We basically can track it down to childhood. Boys don't cry, right? This is something we have heard a lot of times in our life. Men usually have not been keen to seek help or to talk about their struggles because for generations, many societies have encouraged men to be strong and to don't admit that they are struggling. So they become less likely to share their vulnerabilities or to be more reticent than women to go to a doctor. And this is a stigma. And for this, let's talk a little bit more in depth about stigmas. Sorry. Many people are reluctant to talk about their feelings and their mental health. There is still a stigma around it. Ironically, not sharing our feelings with anyone or even not knowing what they are can make our mental health even worse. So talking can help us find hope again, feel closer to each other. Stigma and discrimination can also make someone's mental health problems worse and delay or stop them from getting help. social isolation, poor housing, unemployment, and poverty can all be linked to mental ill health. So stigma and discrimination can trap people in a cycle of illness. On top of that, you may face more than one stigma. For example, you may be also stigmatized because of your race, gender, sexuality, or disability. This can make life even harder. Stigma often comes from a lack of understanding and fear. Inaccurate, misleading media representations of illness, mental illness, can contribute to both those factors. And a review of studies on stigma shows that while the public may accept the medical or generic nature of the mental health disorder, many people still have negative views in any mental health condition. And researchers have identified different types of stigma and the discriminations that may bring to them. We have public stigma that involves the negative attitudes that others may have about mental illness, like people with mental illness are dangerous, incompetent, or even blame about their own disorder. So they suffer discrimination. Employers may not hire them, landlords may not rent, or the healthcare system may offer a lower standard of care. We also have self-stigma. That refers to the negative attitudes, including internalized shame, that people with mental illness may have about their own condition. So they think that they may be dangerous, incompetent, or to blame about what they have. So obviously they suffer from lower self-esteem and self-efficacy. Why try? I'm not worthy. I'm not unable to work. I'm not able to be independent, etc. And last but not least, structural stigma. This is more systemic, involving policies of government and private organizations that intentionally or unintentionally limit opportunities for people with mental illness. Examples include lower funding for mental illness research or fewer mental health services relative to other healthcare. And it all ends up on an intended or an intended loss of opportunity for people with mental health issues. Let me ask you something. If you go to work and you break an arm or you have any kind of physical pain, you will go to a doctor, right? It will only be seen as the right thing to do. And actually you will be expected to do that. So why not when we experience depression or anxiety at work, especially when work can be the main cause of it? Physical health is important, but mental health is as important. When something doesn't feel right internally, it is also a sign that we need to look into it with no exception. And here I'm not talking about mental health conditions like schizophrenia, OCD, bipolar disorder. Here I'm talking about the common mental health issues that may escalate into worse and worse if we let them, like stress, anxiety, and depression. Have you ever bottled up your emotions because it's not the right moment or because I don't have time to deal with them? And what has happened after that? Hours, days, weeks after ignoring those emotions. I can tell you that they will make you listen somehow through our physical body. Lack of sleep, headaches, migraines, skin conditions, hypersensibility, you name it. The problem is that there is a stigma around any mental health condition. Some people may perceive you as weak and that you can cope with certain things, and others may just assume that you just want a few days off. When over 10 years ago, I had to call sick because I had a panic attack related to stress at work, my manager at the time laughed at me because according to him, anxiety is something only the weak go through. But let me tell you something about this before we carry on. Acknowledging your limits, being comfortable to show your vulnerabilities and do something about the situation requires much more strength than look at the other side and pretend that absolutely everything is absolutely fine, because it's actually not. And after talking about the stigmas, let's talk about the triggers. So a trigger is a stimulus that prompts a reaction. When we talk about mental health problems, this concept refers to something that brings on or worsens our symptoms. This normally happens when we have a history of trauma or when we are recovering from a mental health illness. It can be self-harm, eating disorders, addictions, etc. Many different things can be a trigger, and they are mostly influenced by our past experiences. And here are the 4 main types of triggers that we may encounter. External triggers related to our senses, sounds, sights, smells, textures. For example, smelling the cologne of someone we loved and passed away can trigger a sense of grief in ourselves. Internal triggers, those are strong feelings that can arise based on those past experiences. For example, making a doctor's appointment after a negative medical experience can trigger fear on us. Trauma triggers, those are really strong feelings that can arise on a past trauma, like the sound of firecrackers can be trauma triggers for veterans of war. And symptom triggers, a physical change can trigger larger mental health issues. For example, a lack of sleep for a very prolonged time could trigger symptoms of bipolar disorder. The behavior that emerges after a trigger can range from relatively minimal, like just crying for a bit and then being okay, to very serious, like an act of violence. Someone exposed to a trigger may experience impaired judgment or awareness. So if this happens at work, I would say, let's just be patient with that person who has been triggered. And for that, let me show you 3 things that you could do to help someone who is triggered. First of all, be curious. Without being invasive, learn what is triggering for them and try to avoid causing them any pain. For example, if they ask to be let alone and focused on one task, don't interrupt them and allow them to do what they need to do. But also, remember to respect every individual's right to not share what is triggering them or to share them on their own time. Be empathetic and listen without judgment. Be a safe space for your colleagues. Avoid taking their behavior in a personal way or making negative judgments about someone's feelings and behavior. They may be going through something we have no idea about. Some years ago, I ended up over an hour in a corridor talking to a colleague who was triggered in a meeting and stormed out. He was overwhelmed and he just needed to talk to someone who would let him actually talk. So I listened. I stand there for over an hour and I listened. I didn't tell him what to do and I didn't say this is silly or not important, because for him, that was important. I just listened patiently, and by the end of it, we not only got closer and became friends, but he felt much, much better. And I kind of diffused the bomb without even realizing. And help with coping. If you feel comfortable to, ask about strategies that work for the person to relax and take care of themselves. Do not impose your strategies because not everything works for everyone the same way. But above all, let me just, if someone gets triggered, don't say, just calm down. If you tell someone to calm down, you're just going to trigger the opposite reaction. That has never worked in the history of humanity, to tell someone to calm down. Just leave them the space and they will go back to center, and then you can speak to them. Sorry. But what happens if you're the one who gets triggered? If you are that person, there's a lot of strategies you can try, and all of them should focus on minimizing the impact of the trigger and to strengthen your emotional reactions. It is a matter of trial and error to be able to figure out what works best for you, basically because different coping strategies work for different triggers, emotions, and people. First one, observe and learn to identify. Consider reactions to past triggers. Who or what was involved, where, when, and why it took place. Observe patterns and obvious signs of risk to prevent a similar situation. Make a plan to address. Create a plan to address those triggers and emotional reactions. You may want to talk to your colleagues or your supervisor to let them know how they can best help you when you are triggered at work. And try problem-focused coping, for example. Confront your stressor directly or try to find a solution to that stressor. For example, if you commute past a hospital every day and that triggers traumas from a bad experience you had there, maybe you can find a different commute route. And of course, practice self-care. Prioritizing your mental health can help build resilience against potential triggers. You can start by talking to someone, such as a loved one, a friend, or even a therapist. I'm gonna pause here for a second and look at the chat, see if there's any questions. Okay, I see that Rebecca said, okay, great. So I'm gonna carry on. So following up on how important is to address any mental health issues. Prevention is also key. Just think about it. When we were facing the COVID-19 pandemic, we had social distancing, face coverings, hand sanitizer, so we could prevent from spreading it, right? Even when we think we may be getting a cold, we tend to try to minimize the impact. Or when we trip and fall, we instinctively put our hands first so we don't hurt our head or our vital organs. So when it comes to mental health, it's also important to have in place some prevention strategies that we know may work for us. Let me remark that in some cases, mental health problems may not be possible to stop from happening, but with prevention, we can try to minimize those effects. Either we're experiencing any mental health issues or not, temporary or chronic, prevention can help us all. And to do that, according to mentalhealth.org, there are 3 different types of prevention. We have primary, with the intention to stop mental health problems before they start. And this focuses on stopping people from developing mental health problems and promoting good mental health for all. It often targets and benefits everyone in a community, and it can be on the shape of anti-stigma campaigns or teaching children in school about emotions and mental health. Some ways to stay mentally healthy can be to talk about your feelings. Just being listened to can help us feel supported and less alone with any problems we may be going through. Adopt healthy habits like eating, sleeping well, staying active, meditate, etc. Or to avoid excessions like exceeding on alcohol or smoking, for example, or other drugs. Keep in touch with your colleagues and you trust, basically, as well, and your line manager or even HR, if you have someone you trust in HR. Having someone support at work can make a huge difference when problems arise if you feel cared for. I can tell you, I used to work on my last workplace. If there was a couple people, one of them was my manager. If I didn't trust them, I wouldn't have lasted there for very long. But there was always people there. And in any workplace, if there's no one you can trust, you're not going to last in that place, or you're going to feel really, really isolated. So always create that network that can support you. Secondary prevention. This supports those at higher risk of experiencing mental health problems because the characteristics they were born with or experiences they had. This also includes the LGBTQIA+ community because of the higher chance of being bullied, basically. Also, people who have experienced trauma with long-term physical health conditions or victims of hate crimes, etc. To stay well, you may want to follow the tips of the primary prevention, but also if a mental health problem ends up coming up, you can get some kind of talking therapy to overcome your issues or go to a GP and in any case that any physical condition is arising. And tertiary prevention, which focuses on helping people living with mental health problems to stay well and have a good quality of life. The objective is to reduce people's symptoms, empower them to manage their well-being, and reduce the risk of any relapse. Getting informed is often a really good start point to understand and to feel empowered about managing your condition. And the right support for you will depend, of course, on your condition, how it affects you, the severity of the symptoms, and the circumstances, as well as the tips above that we were talking before. You may want to try peer support, talking therapy, or even medication amongst other options. And before we move to the following unit, to the following part, let me talk about psychological safety. This is make sure that your work is psychologically safe. This is basically a shared belief held by members of any kind of organization where the team feels okay to take risks, express their ideas and concerns, speak up with questions, and to admit mistakes without fear of negative consequences. Unfortunately, not all workplaces come with this, so it is important that you identify whether you or your colleagues feel safe to make a mistake or to share a new idea, or if you're actually working on a toxic environment where the only thing you have to do is just obey and comply. If you feel that you work in a toxic environment, take a good look at where it comes from too. Sometimes it's just one team member that spreads that feeling. Sometimes it's a supervisor, or other times it's the top layer or even the policy of the company. Sometimes everyone knows your struggle, but no one speaks up because they're also scared of the consequences. So try to understand whether it will be convenient to move departments, speak to HR or your line manager, or even changing companies. Thing is, mental health issues will stay in your body for a while, even if you leave the place, especially if you have extended your stay longer than you feel you should have. Address these issues if you feel you need to, and above all, be patient and compassionate with yourself. Beating yourself up for feeling down is never going to take you it's never really going to take you far. Leaving a job doesn't mean that you are giving up on them. It means that you are prioritizing your mental health and your work-life balance. So there is no shame in finding a better place where you feel you can grow, learn, and to be listened to. I had a job once where I felt humiliated several times for no reason. So going to work was a struggle. I spent my days off crying at home or just feeling absolutely numb. When we had a comment or a suggestion to our line manager, he used to point at the rubbish bin and say, just drop it in the suggestion box. That was how we were working. And I decided that enough was enough. And I felt bad for my colleagues when I left, but I made an active choice to look after my mental health and move on because I was really on the verge of starting feeling depression. Any questions? Let me see the chat. No, for now. Great. Thank you, Rebecca. So let me drink a bit. So protecting your mental health at work is easier than you may think. We all can do it every day with a simple activity that helps us feel good. Take it as brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth for your mouth's health. So doing small things every day will help us take similar care of our mental health. So we make sure that we have the tools to deal with any bump in the road that may come. So the following tips are a mix between my own workshops and the Mental Health Foundation tips that they offer on the website. Take good breaks. A change of scene or a change of pace is very beneficial for our mental health. When we are stressed, it can seem even harder to take breaks because we don't think we have the time. But we're entitled to take those breaks. And this is exactly when we need them the most, to refresh and to come back with more energy and a fresh mind. And this is not only for a small break. This can be a 5-minute break, taking a proper lunch break, or even booking a holiday. And when we are on leave or at home, try to resist the temptation to check in with work. Even if you're a business owner, when you decide to be off, just be off. If you find that you can break away, it may be the sign that you should re-examine your workload and manage your stress. Get more from your sleep. Anyone who has struggled with sleep would know that what a difference it makes for the mind, the body, and the ability to cope with life. Adults need between 7 and 9 hours sleep, but for many people, sleep is often the first thing that suffers when we're struggling with mental health. So if you're struggling with your sleep, think about trying a few simple changes, like developing a relaxing bedtime routine to help you start winding down before you actually go to sleep, like reading or doing a sleep meditation. I can tell you that for a while I was struggling to sleep, and I discovered this guy called Jason Stevenson. He does sleep meditations. I never finished one of his meditations because he is so bloody good that I just fall asleep after 5 or 10 minutes from the moment he starts. So I would really recommend that man, Jason Stevenson. Avoid TV, mobile screens, alcohol, and of course, caffeine before going to bed. This will help you fall asleep and stay asleep. And if you can, go to bed and get up at around the same time every day, including weekends and holidays. So you will create a routine for your body and mind to follow. And if you work in shifts, it may be a bit more difficult to get that good night's sleep, especially if you do nights from time to time. But even like that, if you create that ritual, that routine before going to bed, you're going to be preparing your body for what's coming next, which is sleep. Keep moving. Our body and mind are really connected. So looking after ourselves physically also help us prevent problems with our mental health. You don't need to be an athlete for that. Experts say that anything physical, any movement can help, from going to the gym, gardening, dancing, cycling, cleaning, etc. Exercise releases endorphins and dopamine. They're basically the feel-good hormones that at the same time reduce the hormones related to stress and anger, which are cortisol and adrenaline. If it involves other people, even better, like being part of a team, a class, or a group we regularly go to. That will also boost our mental health and strengthen our relationships. And eat healthy food. Food and drink affect your body, brain, and mood for the good and for the bad. Sugary snacks, drinks, caffeine, and energy drinks can give us a temporary high and a sense of comfort that can feel irresistible, but they soon leave us feeling really exhausted. I don't know if anyone here watched, I'm really old, I feel old when I say that, but have anyone watched Super Size Me? It was a documentary slash movie from about 20 years ago from a guy who spent a month only eating from McDonald's. That was everything he was eating. And he was someone very healthy, very upbeat. And by the end of it, he was all the time depressed. The only moment he was feeling a high was when he was eating a burger. So a balanced diet with lots of proteins, fiber, and saturated oils, minerals, is essential for a good physical and mental health, as it will provide the nutrients we need to function better. It can be hard to keep up a healthy pattern of eating if you eat at work. So try to plan your meals at work by bringing food from home or choosing healthy options when buying lunch around the area. Be kind. I know that sounds very dull, but it actually works really well. Research shows that being kind can boost our mood, help us feel more capable, strengthen our connections with others, and even make us cope better with stress. So be there for your colleagues. Help them if you can and support them when facing a challenging time. If you don't know where to start, you can try with small but meaningful acts of kindness, like offering a smile or a few kind words to another person. If you like something from someone, say it. It can be a trait, a skill, a piece of jewelry. You will probably make their day and you will enhance your relationship with them. And in line with what I said, look after your relationships. They are key to your mental health. We don't always have a choice about who we work with. And if we don't get on with our managers, colleagues, or clients, it can be a very tense situation. So you may need to look after your mental health even more at those times, but you also will have to address some difficulties. It can be helpful to find a mentor or a small group of trusted colleagues who you can discuss things and how you feel about everything. Also, try to make sure you maintain your friendships and family outside work, because that can be a really good help on tough times. And learn to understand your feelings and manage your feelings, basically. Many of us will know when we're upset, but we're not very sure what we're feeling or why. And it often helps to just observe our feelings, just look at them and understand what we're actually going through without judgment, without telling ourselves we're stupid or weak because the way we feel. It may seem strange and uncomfortable, but practice and patience with ourselves will help. Naming what we're feeling is also likely to help, not just to identify our emotions, but to ask ourselves what has led us to feel this way. Also, some people feel better if they write down their feelings in a notebook, on a phone, or on the laptop, or practicing mindfulness or meditation. And last but not least, talk to someone you trust for support. It can take a lot of courage to tell someone else how you're feeling or what you're finding hard, especially if you don't usually do that, and even more especially at work if you don't have anyone you trust around. It can really help if you have colleagues or a manager you can talk to. Identify someone you feel comfortable with and who will be supportive for you. And if you don't feel able to talk about your feelings at work, make sure there is someone you can discuss work pressures with. It can be partners, friends, family, or a mental health professional. Talking also may help change how you see and feel about the situation in ways that you may find helpful. And this can either be, as I said, a loved one or actually a professional. But let me say that even if you do all these things that I just mentioned, it doesn't mean that you will be a-okay and that you will not suffer from any mental health issues. But with all these, you will be able to prevent them or minimize their effects on you. No matter what, if you experience a mental health issue, make sure you seek help and you address it before it becomes too much and it takes over your life. And following this last item mentioned before, there are a lot of options out there to support us when our mental health is struggling. The amount of different options can sometimes be overwhelming, and we may end up in hands of someone who is not prepared to help us in what we need. It can be hard to find the right help for you if the concepts are not clear in our heads. So basically, because there are so many labels out there that it is easy to get confused. Counselors, psychologists, coaches, etc. What we need to understand is that each one of these professionals undertakes a different type of training and falls under different licensing standards, which means that they're equipped to do different things, they have different skills, and their focus will be also different when helping you. And before we dive in, let me mention something first. The main thing is that when you start a professional relationship with any professional health, mental health professional, sorry, you are committing yourself to make changes in your life. And there will be a lot of digging on how you think, how you feel, how you behave. So it is imperative that you feel comfortable and safe with the person you have chosen. You can have the best coach in the world, but if you don't feel comfortable with the relationship we have with them, you're not gonna make any changes. You will feel frustrated, and in the end, you're gonna lose your time, your money, and your energy. But now let's look at different options available. So first, HR and work helpline. Most medium and big companies have either a work helpline where you can speak to someone qualified to help you, or a person of trust system, where any conversation is confidential and where, depending on the issue and the discussion, you can be referred to the right mental health professional. You can also approach your HR representative to discuss any mental health issue you may have related to work. Psychiatrists. Psychiatrists are medical doctors who have qualified in the study of mental health problems and their diagnosis, management and prevention of mental health conditions, including substance abuse disorders. They are also qualified to assess both mental and physical aspects of your psychological problems. Psychology may be more likely to treat severe mental illness, such as depression, anxiety, and personality disorders, or those who are coping through a tough time in their lives. And the main focus is helping people learn ways to handle these mental health challenges. Counseling provides a safe and confidential space for you to talk to a trained professional about your issues and concerns. And it will help you explore your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors so you can develop a better understanding of yourself and others. Counseling tends to be a goal-oriented discipline, and it often specializes in a specific area, such as marriage, addiction, grief, or abuse. Coaching, that's my area, focuses on personal and professional fulfillment and on achieving tangible goals. It does that by creating a thought-provoking and creative process. Coaching challenges and drills down your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors by asking questions, using different techniques, and allowing you the mental headspace to talk and to organize your thoughts. Think about it. When was the last time you stopped to think about something important in your life? And how long were you doing that? As you can see, counseling and coaching are distinct entities. Counselors can diagnose and treat mental illness, address emotional and behavioral problems, explore the past, and help people achieve greater happiness and fulfillment. Whereas coaches do not tend to treat mental health disorders. Rather, we help individuals who are relatively higher functioning to continue growing and accomplish specific goals. Counseling tends to be longer term, while coaching tends to be shorter term, although the length of the treatment can vary according to the goals and the objectives that are set. And last, mentoring. This is a relationship with an expert in a certain field. It is meant to help you develop yourself as a professional over the long term. For example, at work, where more experienced colleagues can help those who are starting out. And also let me mention that there are other options like social workers, community mental health centers, support groups, coaching groups, and all the self-help world that is out there. And with that last one, I want to say, it is great if you want to do self-help. There's a lot of books, online courses, YouTube videos, articles, etc. Be wise on your choice. There's a lot of gurus. There's a lot of people out there who are just going to empty your bank account and you're going to end up feeling even worse than when you started. So be really mindful on who you choose to listen to if you choose self-help. And here are some helps that you can get for free. We have, of course, the emergencies 999 and 111 for mental health urgent help, but we also have Samaritans, which provide a free 24/7 emotional support to anyone in emotional distress, struggling to cope or at risk of suicide throughout the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. Then we have Shout. This is a free confidential tech support service, also 24/7, for anyone in the UK who needs support. They can help with topics like anxiety, stress, depression, and sadness, suicidal thoughts, self-harm, bullying, and along, etc. And Mind, they're offering a supported self-help program, which is a free mental health support for England and the Channel Islands. And this is for free. It's a 6 weeks guided program, and they give you materials to understand and manage your feelings. And also they will call you regularly to give you support. You don't need a GP referral to sign up. And please bear in mind, if you choose this one, this is a one-to-one guided self-help service, not a counseling service. And to finish up with some further exploration and resources, this is me. If you think that coaching is your path and that you really would like to use some coaching, here I am. And this is how it looks like working with me. I'm always going to be active listening to you, very compassionate. I'm highly empathic. Anyone who knows you can tell you that. But I'm going to also give you accountability. I'm going to keep you accountable for your actions so we can move forward. And I'm currently offering a 20% discount on my signature coaching program. This is a 6 months deep dive on any issue that you're experiencing at work that is not allowing you to get where you want to go. It's one session every other week, 1 hour per session, and it can be depending on where you are in the world, online or in person. And also I'm offering a 10% off on any coaching package you choose. This offer expires next Thursday at midnight, so at the end of Thursday, basically. So you have time to think about it and to think which one is the option that suits you better. And those are my other workshops. I still have work in progress for some others, but those are my current workshops at the moment. So I have assertiveness and healthy boundaries, stress management, time management, procrastination, and my last one, dealing with rejection. You can check them out on my Eventbrite. I will share now my QR code, and from there you can go to my website and to my Eventbrite profile. I really want to thank you all for being here, for listening. I see that there is 10 people connected, which is great. Here are my details if you want to follow up, because I know that some mental health issues can be very personal and you don't want to share them here in the chat. I'm happy to have a one-to-one with you and to carry on the chat. So I want to thank you all very much.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking us through that insightful session. Yeah, we do have some questions. So the first one is, how can employees approach their managers if they are feeling overwhelmed or experiencing mental health issues?
Okay, so it's about preparing the ground as well. And instead of just going to the desk and say, I need to talk to you, it's about, I need to talk to you. Can we set up a meeting? And this is what I want to discuss with you. So you prepare them to listen to you, because
Right.
sometimes they, I mean, they're also human beings, and you go to their desk and they overwhelmed with something. You don't know what they're working on sometimes. Maybe they're working on 5 deadlines for the next hour, and you're there saying, oh, I have a mental health issue. They're going to tell you, I don't care. Right now, I don't care. I'm going to carry in 1 hour, you know? So
Yeah.
it's about finding the right timing as well, and to be able to word it on a adult way as well, instead of starting accusing or pointing fingers, because you don't like to be pointed either.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation that goes both ways. It's about try to find a solution instead of saying you are the culprit or that one is the culprit, you know.
Yeah.
It's about having a holistic talk that can end up being a talk with many more people than just your management. But it's about hitting that start button sometimes in a
Yeah.
proper way.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. We have another question, and it says, a challenge for me to feel I can't switch off because of the ingrained behaviors of others in the business who are always online. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
guess this person is saying that, her our 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 colleagues, they are always online. So how can she switch off?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is that they're online because they choose to be online.
Yeah.
When you sign a contract with a company, you're selling a certain amount of hours. And more than that is your choice. And sometimes you have to. I have worked, when I was in Toyota, I sometimes worked on weekends because I knew that I had that focused time that I wouldn't get during the week. And that would give me such a good headspace through the whole week. So that's your choice. But what I see here is that sometimes you feel pressured, and I did as well. If someone is working at 8 p.m. on a Friday, you feel that you have to as well. But in the end, it's about how you prioritize yourself. Instead of looking at them, it's about
Yeah.
looking at yourself and looking at your priorities. Is my priority to be seen as the best employee in the world? Or is my priority to look after my family, or to go to a dance class, or to whatever you do, basically? And look inside, and you look at your priorities, because for those people, that's the priority.
Yeah.
And that's great. But if you have finished your time at work and you're still expected to carry on, this is a conversation to have as well
Yeah.
on what are the expectations, what's, what are the responsibilities. Is there a promotion in hand? Is there a salary raise in hand that is going to pay for the extra time? But with that, I would say that sometimes it's not just about the money.
Mm.
And I recently spoke to, well, my flatmate, and I told him he was getting very overwhelmed about something that was not worth it. And I told him, is that the price you want to pay for your mental health?
Mm.
What's the price, really? You have to put a price if you want to. Sometimes it's priceless,
Yeah.
but should be priceless. But
Yeah.
it's about your own priorities. It's about all these sentences that you can read, all these quotes, like you can, at work, if you die tomorrow, the day after, they're going to be recruiting for your replacement, but your family is going to be crying.
Yeah.
And it's going to be grieving for a very long time. So it's about where do you want to be,
Mm.
And I'm not talking just about people with families, because I don't have kids, I don't have a partner, but you still have to prioritize your well-being, basically, and your switch off time. Also, you're more productive if you
Yeah.
take time off. I can
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah, and I have a similar experience that, I just want to share, and I am
Yeah.
aware of the time. So please, if you can just give us like 5 minutes, and we are just going to round up. So for me, in my last employment, what I did was I ensured that there was nothing related to work on my personal phone. So at 5 p.m., I switch off my phone and I
Mm-hmm.
put it in my locker.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm going home and, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I could just now. I switch it off and I put it somewhere where I know that I'm not touching it until the following day. And that
Mm.
really helped me to switch off completely. So I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just one last question.
Yeah.
Sorry, because of
I
time,
see.
yeah.
Yeah. As
One
a
last
remote
one.
worker.
So, the
Yeah.
person said, currently, I work as a waitress in a restaurant. A few days ago, I accidentally broke some glasses at work, and my manager told me he will not be nice when I make mistake again. This scared me a lot, not only in the workplace, but also when I sleep. This always comes to my mind. How can I get through this situation?
Wow. Well, first of all, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce your name correctly. PA? I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it correctly, but that sounds like you're in the opposite of psychological safety right now. You're on the other side of the spectrum. And if that was the manager, the one who tell you, I'm not going to be nice. I know sometimes we feel trapped in a job thinking that we cannot leave, but maybe it's a chance for you to realize that maybe either you have to talk to someone above your boss if you think that they're going to understand you. And if that scares you even more because you think that there's going to be consequences, which is the spiral of psychological unsafety, what I would say, I would start trying to think about moving jobs and go somewhere where people treat you like a human being, not like a machine. That would be my. It's not giving up, as I said. It's about looking after yourself. But before you leave, make sure that top management knows how this person is behaving. I will give it a go, and if it doesn't work, I would go. I would change.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's so important to realize the exit time
Yeah.
in organization. I think that is something that, a lot of people that struggle with because you feel
Hmm.
like, this is your job, you have to pay your bills, but
Yeah.
maybe that is a time for you to realize that, yeah, this has been my job.
Yeah.
Now I need to exit. So what are the next steps? And
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe by putting out your CV out there or reaching out to like an agency, I
Mm-hmm.
think that would really help a lot. So yeah, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
I see another one. I don't know if we have time. I think we missed one. As a remote worker, how can I maintain good mental health?
Okay, go on
As
then.
a remote
1 minute.
worker, I've been a remote worker for a while now, and I would say the key is to force yourself to take breaks,
Mm,
because when you're working for yourself or when you work from home, it's very easy to just do. And you look at the clock and it's, oh my God, it's 6 p.m. I didn't have lunch. Put on your calendar notes that can pop up on your screen and make sure that you take those breaks. And if you can go out, even if it's just around the block,
mm,
I force myself as well to go to the gym or to go for a run or to go for a walk, because that helps a lot our brain. So yeah, I would say that this is quite key, to make sure that you have those breaks and that you know when you have to finish, at what time you will finish in the office. Same. There is a company, I don't know if it's in Denmark, and at 5:30 p.m. they work in desks, and whatever you're doing, they don't care. There is something automatic and the desks go up to the ceiling, whatever you're doing. So maybe you can find a solution like that if you have to force yourself into not become a workaholic.
mm. Yeah, thank you very much. And I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And I've put the feedback form in the chat room. Please, we would very much appreciate your feedback. And please do reach out to us to connect with us. I'm just going to share my screen for the connection for the links. Yeah, so please do reach out to us. Let us know how much you enjoyed the program today. And yeah, we are hoping that, things will get better with you at your workplace. And I hope that the session today will help you, on your journey ahead. So thank you very much and happy World Mental Health Day. Thank
Happy
you,
Mental Health
everybody.
Day.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.